Hello, here we are again, back with a lecture on bad news and also on letter format, how to write a letter, which is something you probably will use in business. I know it's the age of email, but the letter still has a lot of purpose in the world. So um, we mentioned a few classes ago that best policy is to put the most important information up front in a document so that you can get the reader to the point ASAP. There are times when you don't want to do that. You don't want to get a letter saying, um, I'm sorry to tell you that your dog died, right? Very, very direct, not the thing you want to do with bad news. You don't want to be direct when you're doing a sales letter either. If you're trying to sell someone something, you don't say, hey, buy my product for $200. No, no, no. You want to just sort of come at it a roundabout way, finesse it a little bit. So let's talk about bad news and how to deliver it like a pro. What are our goals here? Well, okay, obviously you have to say to this person, here's some bad news. And you want to make sure that they understand it. That you don't want to be vague about it. You don't want them coming back with questions, but also to accept it. So, and it's not always possible. People are going to be very upset by what you're telling them and they'll have trouble accepting it. But you want to help them get there. You want to help them accept the bad news. Another goal of communicating bad news is to really just, keep the image of your organization or yourself still positive in the light of the receiver, right? Maintain a good image. And you also want to make the message so clear that any follow-up questions won't come to you. You don't need to follow up with any more information. You want to give them just enough information that they understand the bad news and that they accept it even if they don't like it, okay? And then the final thing would be, depending on your industry, you might want to give bad news and avoid legal liability. Oh, sorry, we've been unable to finish your project by this date. But you know what? There were reasons, and we gave them to you earlier, which is hopefully helping you to avoid any kind of lawsuit or something like that. Okay, remember an audience analysis? I think I did a whole lecture on this. Uh, Purpose, audience, and context, right? Those are three things you really need to think about every time you start a communication. And I'm not talking about like talking to your friend on the street. We're talking professional documents, emails, even if it's to your colleagues. Really, you should be thinking about purpose. Hey, what is your purpose as the writer? What do you want to accomplish with this letter? You want to make someone laugh? Do you want to give them information? Do you want to give them bad news? And then what's the issue? What kind of context are we looking at here? Has there been a global pandemic that's preventing anyone from meeting? Is the context, a global downturn? Is a context, we lost our star designer to a car accident? I don't know. What's the context? You got to think about that. And then, of course, and maybe this is the most important, think about your audience. What is the purpose of your communication? You're writing this letter or sending this email for them, presumably, right? Which is why we take the you view. The you view is another important term in this course. I want you to put yourself in the reader's shoes. What would they want to hear? What would make them happy? Because ultimately, communication relies on you kind of empathizing and putting putting yourself in the shoes of the other person that's reading or listening to. So every communication falls somewhere on the spectrum, right? In this triangle. Maybe you're completely focused on yourself as the writer, and you say something like, no, we can't help you. Company policy dictates. Yeah, you're focusing on yourself. It's not going to be received well. You go closer to the audience side. You know what? Regrettably, we're not able to assist you. However, we can give you this option, which might make you happy. Right now, we're thinking more about the audience. Okay, so always you start with audience analysis. But here's how you deliver bad news. This is one format. It's the best I've ever seen. You start with a buffer, you go to your reasons, and then you deliver the bad news toward the end of the letter, and then a nice little closing at the end. Let's look at those in turn. And by the way, this is called the indirect pattern, which is opposed to the direct pattern, which puts important information at the front end. So a buffer is really just a neutral or positive opening. It doesn't give away anything. It's not really, there's no real weight to this, but it's setting your audience up. It's making them feel good. It's introducing yourself, reintroducing yourself. It's a buffer. It's not fluff, but it's just a kind human introduction to a letter. Then you get into the reasons for the bad news you're about to deliver down the road. We start with the reasons so that people understand. If we started with the bad news, that's all people would fixate on. They don't care about your reasons if they were to come after. So we start with the reasons, buffer, then reasons. What are the factors influencing what you're about to tell them? So it could be, you lost your designer, there's a labor shortage, there's a material shortage in the world, etc. Who knows? Then you get to the bad news. You got to state it explicitly. You got to make sure that they're not confused by what you're saying to them. You have to rip the band-aid off in that sentence or that paragraph. It has to be clear but understated. You don't say, "Hey, your dog died." You say, "Oh, unfortunately, your dog was hit by a car." Right? That's a bit more. It's a euphemism way to say it. And you want to maybe very quickly follow up with, you know what, we can't give you a refund, but we can apply your credit towards another product, right? Alternatives and compromises will soften the bad news. Then your letter ends with a close. It's not a "thank you for your cooperation" robotic corporate closing. Something human, something kind, maybe helpful if possible, pleasant, professional. So let's dive in and look at this a little deeper. Why? Why are we? You might think, you know what? Let's just be honest with each other. We have bad news. Let's just get it out of the way. Okay, it's nice to be upfront and forward, but people are emotional. Humans are emotional animals, and we respond better when someone treats us with dignity, kindness, compassion, empathy. Right? So that's why we bury and delay the bad news. It's not necessarily unethical. It's not immoral. It's just human. We're being kind, right? If you found out that your friend's mom died before they did, you wouldn't just say, "Hey, your mom died," right? Think about how cold and insensitive they would see you, your friend. So we do this because it respects the feelings of the audience. It ensures that you're going to get heard. Whatever you want to say is heard, and it kind of minimizes the negative reaction that might come if you were to be really bold and direct, right? So in essence, it's buffering the bad news. It softens the blow. What's the buffer? Okay, let's look at some options for your opening, for your buffered opening. Give someone positive news, right? You know what? We have had a really great year in the company. You're doing a great job in this role. You got accepted to Fanshawe. Give the good stuff, right? Something that will put the reader in a positive mood. Or maybe you want to pay a compliment to the reader, not something that's patronizing, not something that's over the top, but something that's genuinely a compliment. You know what? We've really accomplished a lot this year working together. Your charity has done some amazing work with kids. Your organization is one of my favorites, and I just absolutely love the way you're doing it. And do it with honesty and sincerity. People will smell BS or over the top, flowery, language. So just be genuine with this. That's your buffer. That's how you start. Then we go to reasons. This is, in a way, this is the most important part of the bad news message, because you're softening up the reader. You're making the bad news more palatable, right? So this is your explanation. This is giving reasons why you're about to deliver the hammer. It reduces feelings of ill will, improves the chances that you'll be heard, and that your reader will accept the news. And please don't, in this assignment, give the bad news in the reason section. And you'll see how to do this in a minute with an example we have. We want to explain our reasons as opposed to hiding behind company policy. What do I mean there? Some companies and some employees will say, "Sorry, our company policy doesn't let you return this item." Well, that may be true. It may be the company policy, but humans don't want to hear about your company policy. They want to hear, maybe a more rational explanation, something that makes sense to them. Nobody wants to be told because, why is it this way? Because. No, forget it. And so your tone and your word choice are very important here. You want to be compassionate. You want to be professional, understanding, sympathetic. And use words that reflect that. So that's your reasons. After your reasons come the bad news, but we're not going to get to that yet. Here are some words to avoid in your reasons. These are negative words: error, fault, Unfortunately, pathetically inept. Yeah, definitely don't say that. Impossible to help you. Um, Negative language doesn't matter if it's explaining your reasons. People hear this and get defensive. People hear this and stop listening to you. So avoid words like these in your reasons. Now, from time to time, you will make a mistake for your clients, for your boss, for your whoever, your constituents, your stakeholders, and it will be your fault, clearly, or maybe not. Should you apologize in those cases? It really depends. So the human answer is yes. Apologize if you make a mistake. Own your mistakes, right? That's a good policy for to live your life, right? But in some cases, there is possibly a way you can be sued if you apologize, if you admit fault, right? Openly. So you got to be careful. You got to think about, do you want to admit fault here? If you do apologize, do it once. Don't do it over and over again. Don't dwell on it or over apologize. You just say, I'm very sorry that we caused you an inconvenience, and then move on with your life, right? Now, finally, the third section, we get to the bad news of this letter. You want to be very clear what the bad news is. You don't want them asking questions after the fact, or maybe they don't understand. They think everything's fine. No, it's not fine. We have bad news, and I got to give it to you. But I want to give it to you in a kind, compassionate way. So again, accentuate the positive. What are the good things here? What's the silver lining? What can they do? What power do they have, even though there's something bad that's happened, rather than dwelling on what you can't do, right? Um, uh, I would imply the refusal or apology. You don't have to say your dog died. You can say, unfortunately, your dog was hit by a car and didn't make it. That's a bit of an implication of what happened, but you're not saying the dog died, which is much more brutal. But you have to be clear. There can't be any uncertainty about what you're saying. Then also, you want to suggest a compromise. This bad thing has happened. We can't help you fix that, but here's what we can do. We can give you something else, right? A compromise, an alternative product, if it exists. If not, well, I don't know. You might need to think creatively and give them something totally different. Maybe that's a apology. Lastly, then you don't just leave and stop typing your letter. You end with a close. The close is kind of the buffer is the top bun and the close is the bottom bun, right, of the hamburger. And the meat is that bad news, unfortunately. So you want to end with a close that's, again, it's kind, it's compassionate, it's helpful, maybe, but it's not corporate. It's not cold. It's not overly effusive or too like you're beating yourself up because you messed up. You do want to look forward to future business or whatever it may be. You don't want to restate the bad news, and you don't want them to write you back. Usually, if they are going to write you back, it's going to get into now an argument. But unfortunately, with bad news, it usually doesn't change. So don't invite future correspondence. Usually, there's some exceptions. Here are some examples. Right? I don't know if these are real letters or not, but here, let's read the one on the left. So, new pricing. Okay, very clear subject line. I love it. Hi, Carla. Casual first name. The cost of your standard plan, 2 screens at a time plus HE, has changed to $10.99 a month. Oh, okay. Presumably it was cheaper before. That's the bad news right up front. That's not what we want to do in a bad newsletter, in an indirect format. We want to kind of buffer it a little bit, give some reasons, then you hit them with the bad news. So continuing, this change takes effect Wednesday, November 1st. You can view your membership details here. That's why do you need that? Keep watching what you want, when you want, and know that we're working to improve the Netflix experience for everyone, everywhere. Thanks for being a loyal member. Yeah, it's not bad. It's kind of like you're telling them what the value is of Netflix. You're thanking them. And then what are they doing? They're inviting a lot more correspondence. If you need help, visit the help center or contact us. You know how many bad emails you're going to get because of this letter? A lot. Here's a different one. More of what you like. Okay, there's a better maybe subject line. The cost of your membership is increasing. Again, bad news right up front. Why? Okay, now at least they're giving you reasons. So we can add more of what you like to watch. Great. So you're getting more value. Okay, maybe some customers won't care about the bad news if they heard that first. Again, more good features. Here's to watching what you want when you want, blah, blah, blah. That sounds like corporate nonsense to me. It's just a soundbite, right? We're here to help if you need it. Contact us. If you don't wish to continue your membership, here's how you can cancel. Now, if you're a business, you don't want people canceling. I had a subscription to the New York Times. It takes 3 seconds to sign up on their website. But if you want to cancel, you got to get on the phone and wait on hold for a long time, and it takes forever. How many people are going to cancel? You don't want to make it easy for your customers to cancel. I'm sorry, but like, yes, good customer service, but let's keep the business, right? You can't serve the customers if you don't have the business. So this should not exist. Do not tell them how you can cancel. Terrible, terrible letter. Okay, I think maybe we want to look at the other version. Yeah, let's bounce over to a better version of the Netflix letter. Here we go. This is not a perfect version, but it certainly is much improved. So what do we have here? It's in letter format, which means, and we're going to do a bit more on this, which means you've got your own address and maybe your letterhead, your logo at the top. Then you have the date. Then you have the address of the person who is receiving the letter. Then you have a salutation. Always got to have a salutation, even if it's dear sir or madam. Don't use to whom it may concern. Everyone has agreed that is terrible. It's impersonal. You can do better than to whom it may concern. Dear sir or madam is usually fine if you don't know their name. If you know their name, use their first name, use their last name. 20 years ago, no one would use a first name, but now it's totally acceptable. Thank you for your continued membership to Netflix, the world's premier streaming service. Okay, great buffer, great opening. You've thanked the customer, making them feel good, and you've talked yourself up in a roundabout way by saying we're the best in the world. Awesome opening. We trust you're enjoying the wide variety of programming available to you, from award-winning movies to documentaries to great children's shows for you and your family to enjoy. We've reminded everybody what they're getting from Netflix. Awesome content, right? Now, we go here to, in order to maintain the stability of our HD streaming network, as well as to keep providing you with high quality original programming, those are reasons. Why are we about to do what we're about to tell you, which is raise the price? Well, we're maintaining stability of our network, and we want to continue to give you high quality original programming. Those are two great reasons to keep using Netflix, and it's a pretty good reason for about what they're about to tell you. All Netflix subscribers' monthly rates will increase $2 by 2019. Okay, there's the bad news, right? So you have your buffer. This is the buffer. You have reasons here, and then here's your bad news. Netflix is proud of its original content. You can review your membership details. Okay, so here's this is a bit of a closing, and here is a little more closing, but it's also like, hey, we're here to help you. If you need, please visit your help center. And that's not necessarily inviting more correspondence. It's pointing someone to a help page where you don't actually have to deal with them. They can find the answer themselves, right? It's actually saving you from a call to your customer service team. So this is better. Is it perfect? Maybe not. Yeah, I kind of like it when each paragraph is its own, buffer, reasons, bad news, closing. But here, they've merged the reasons and the bad news. That's fine though. It's in the right order. Okay, as long as it's in the right order, I don't care what your format is. It just has to make sense and read well. So that is a much better version than the two we just looked at. Back to the lecture. Here's what not to do when you're delivering bad news. Dear Mr. Waters, unfortunately, negative language, we cannot permit you, that sounds awful, to apply these lease payment terms you've been making for the past 10 months toward the purchase of your Seiko 600 copier, right? And you're also reminding the customer here that they've been paying this for 10 months. Why not? Why can't I? You haven't given me reasons yet. So this is already, you haven't used the indirect format. If they did, it would look a lot better. Company policy does not allow such conversion. Well, the customer doesn't care what your company policy is. They care what's in it for them. So don't hide behind company policy. Have you ever wondered why we can offer such low leasing and purchase prices? Condescending. Obviously, we couldn't stay in business for long if we agreed to proposals such as yours. Insulting. You've had the Seiko 600 copier for 10 months now, Mr. Waters, and you say you like its versatility and reliability. You say is another way of saying, but I don't believe you. Perhaps we could interest you in another Seiko model one that's more within your price range, slightly insulting again, do give us a call. Yeah, and you're inviting a very angry customer to call you as soon as they finish reading this letter. There's no buffer here. The reasons were weak, if any. They were not given before the bad news. Did they give an alternative? Yes, but it's not exactly one that they're really trying very hard with, is it? How pleasant and forward thinking is the close? Not really at all. Do give us a call. Okay, that sounds like, very impersonal, very cold. How can we do it better? Um, Again, buffer, you want to give appreciation for the customer's patronage. Whether you're in business or marketing or accounting or basket weaving, landscaping, or the music industry, you want to make sure your customers, your clients are happy. That's how you stay in business. No happy customers, no business, right? So express appreciation. I am grateful to you. Listen, you are a customer, and that's important to us. Try to show agreement if you can. We agree that you've been a loyal customer. We agree that you've been very flexible. That's what you can do in your buffer. For the reasons, justify the bad news that's coming with objective reasons. Nobody can question this. It's not subject to interpretation. That's what objective means. Objective is it's factual. It's true. There's no debate or opinion about it. And of course, avoid blaming the customer. Hey, you forgot to click this button to unsubscribe, whatever. And don't hide behind company policy. It's just stupid. Then you come to the bad news, stated objectively. Again, there's no debate on this, or you can imply it a little bit as long as it's clear. Then maybe you want to refer to another promotion that that would work for them, a deal you can give them, a compromise, a concession, only if you think it won't be offensive. And give them alternative actions. Put the customer in the driving seat. People love having choice or even the illusion of choice. We can't give you this, which you said you wanted, but we can give you option A or B. Now they're feeling like they're in control again. People crave control, right? Then in the close, thank them for their business. Look forward to doing more business. Offer their best wishes. Happy New Year, happy birthday, whatever it is. And then remind them of the compromise that you've offered. Do not repeat the bad news. They've already got up there. They can go read it again if they want to. So how do we fix this letter that we just read about the copier? Better. Dear Mr. Waters, we're happy to learn that you are enjoying the use of the Seiko copier you've been leasing for the past 10 months. Positive, friendly, awesome. Like our many other customers, you have discovered that Seiko copiers offer remarkable versatility and reliability. Yeah, it's maybe a bit corporate, but you get the point. You're being positive. You're talking up your business. Next paragraph, reasons. One of the reasons we're able to offer these outstanding copiers at such low leasing rates and equally low purchase prices is that we maintain a slim profit margin. If our program included a provision for applying lease payments toward the purchase price, our overall prices would have to be higher, right? That's not debatable. That's just, you have thin margins. You can't move on the price at all. You can't move on the policy. That's the reality. And most people that are reasonable will understand this and accept it. Accept the bad news that you're about to give them. Although lease payments cannot be credited toward purchase price, there's the bad news. Alternative, we can offer you Seiko models that are within your price range. The Seiko 400 delivers the same reliability, blah, blah, blah. Please let us demonstrate to your staff in the office. Our representative will call you soon to arrange time. So in this case, you're giving a compromise, an alternative that's maybe more affordable for them. You'll keep their business, hopefully. And you're going the extra mile by saying, look, you don't need to call us. We'll get in touch with you, one of our representatives, to give you a free demonstration of this other product that you might like, right? It's a pretty good letter, pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good. So all right, back to the difference between direct structure and indirect structure, or format, as they say. Here's a little very direct letter. Everything's going great here. As you know, the closing date on your home is set for February 30th, 2019. Everything is in order for you to take possession of your new home on that date, right? And we can put the most important information at the top because it's good news. Everything is in order. I don't even know why they're sending this letter, but hey, it's a good example. Anyway, they get into more of the body and they close. Doesn't matter. You can read it on your own if you want. But basically, here's how direct format works, right? Important information up at the top. But bad news, Indirect format, you do not want that bad news at the top. No, no, no. So we put it in red here and toward the end. So what did we do? We used indirect format. Buffer. Once again, we want to thank you for choosing J.R.R. Tolkien Hobbit homes. We make them small, but we make them uncomfortable. Positive, not fluff, but there's no real negativity here. As you may be aware from recent news headlines, bricklayers in Middle-earth have unionized and walked out in force to protest against low wages and dangerous working conditions. Reasons, reasons, reasons. You haven't given them bad news yet, but you're getting them ready for the bad news. The crew in charge of laying the brick facade for your home is a part of this union. While I've spoken with the crew directly, you've tried to fix this. They've informed me that they have no intention of crossing the picket line. Thus, unless there is a shift in the negotiations in the next few days, your house will not be ready for possession. Okay, there's the bad news, but you've softened it up with telling them why. You've given them reasons beyond your control why the home's not going to be ready. So that's your bad news after the buffer and the reasons. Then you end with the closing, which is kind, courteous, helpful. I ask for your continued patience in this delay. As soon as the situation changes, I will contact you. You're not inviting them to contact you, which is great. Should negotiations continue past 1 month, Hobbit Homes could partially reimburse you for any storage costs. Okay, you're giving them a concession, giving them a compromise. It's something that will make them happy. You've just given them bad news. They're not moving into their new home, man. But here's something we can do for you. That's a great example of an effective indirect letter. Okay, so that's all about bad news. That's all about indirect format. This week we are doing an assignment on the letter. The letter, and I'm talking about a paper letter, which yes, believe it or not, companies still use a lot of paper correspondence, and that's sometimes a good thing. Remember, talk about mediums from a previous class. You wouldn't send a wedding invite by email usually, unless you really had to save costs. You want it to be permanent record. You want it to be weighty. It has to have some kind of formality to it, right? A wedding invite. So you send it in paper. There's other reasons to send paper. Let's get into it. Letters, purpose and format. You want to use a letter, a paper letter, when you need a permanent record, because then someone can sign it, someone can have it in their hands. You wouldn't want to get your diploma or your degree and it's just an email PDF attachment, right? You want that piece of paper because it's a permanent record and it's important. And it's more formal when you get it in paper. Your acceptance letter to Fanshawe, like over here. Hey, you're accepted to Fanshawe. This is a momentous occasion. Let's get a paper copy of that letter. You can post up on your wall or show your parents or whatever. So if there's formality required, a letter is better. Also, if a message is sensitive, I think we talked about this. Emails can be forwarded at the click of a button, literally. You can put something sensitive in an email, send it to the person you're sending it to, and think, oh, they're never going to forward it off, right? Well, it happens. I've seen it all the time in the work world. You don't want to put sensitive information in an email. You're better off actually to put it in a physical letter, where if someone wants to forward it, they got to go walk and hand it to someone, or they've got to make a photocopy or scan it and send it off to someone. So it can't be done accidentally usually. And the last reason it's important to do a letter, if the message requires an organized, well-considered presentation. If you want it to look good, a letter is your best bet. Formatting emails is a little tougher, right? Yeah, you can PDF attachment, but hey, just send the letter. And you know what we say? Typically, emails and memos, little post-it note memos, are internal documents. Inside the company, it's fine. Use your emails. But if you want to send something to a client or something like that, a contract, it's going to be in a letter, external to the client, outside of the company. Okay, there are generally 3 types of letters. And these are really 3 reasons for the letters too. Routine letters are requests for this and that, replies to a letter you received. You don't want to reply to a letter with an email usually, or like a goodwill message, like hey, it's your birthday. We're sending you this 30% off coupon. Or persuasive letters can be persuasive. Usually that's a sales letter. You probably all get this junk mail in your inbox, in your physical mailbox today. And it's because the letter is a bit more persuasive. If that was an email, you just hit spam. You can never send you another email again from that company. Whereas they can keep sending you letters. Or if something is negative, the bad news, you might want to send a letter. How do you structure a letter? Block format. Hey, this is great. So each of these, the letterhead, the date line, the inside address, we call them blocks, right? And they typically go in this format. There are other slightly modified formats, but this is the only one you'll ever need. It's the one we'll use for this class. I have attached a PDF version of this so you can have it as a reference for your assignment and for going forward in your career. But this is like what people expect to get in a letter. They don't expect any other format really. So how do we do a letter? Start with your letterhead, or if you don't have a letterhead, your address. That's the sender's address. Then you've always got a space between these blocks, one or more. And then you have the date, so people know what date was this letter sent or written. Then the inside address is the person who's getting the letter, right? And always the block looks like this. It's the name, comma, title. It's maybe the company, if they have one. Then it's the address, city, province or state, postal code, all in one line. Another space, and then dear so-and-so. You can always start a letter with dear. It's just a convention. It's what we use for hundreds of years. And are we going to say dear Tom, dear Susan? Usually not unless you know them personally. You use Mr. or Ms. Mrs., Miss? No, not usually. Mrs. has been out of date for 30, 40 years, since I was a kid. It's not, what do you call it? It's not very current. It's not politically correct to use Mrs. or Miss. There's one for a man, Mr. There's now one for a woman, Ms., right? I don't know why I still have students use Mrs. Strange, I don't know. So you've got your dear so-and-so, and if you don't know their name, dear sir, dear madam, if you know their gender, or if you don't know their gender, dear sir or madam. That's all you need to know. Then you have a direct opening usually. Then you have your body of your letter, a closing. Sincerely is what you call just a closing. Sincerely, yours truly, thanks for your time, thanks for your consideration. Always end with something like that. It's nice, even if it's just thanks. And then you have your name. Don't forget your name. You got to have the sender or the receiver needs to know who is sending this letter and put your name there. If you can, sign it. Signing is a symbol that you approve of this letter, right? A signature carries a lot of weight. When you sign a contract, legally binding. When you sign a letter, it means I approve of this message, or I stand behind this information. Don't worry about reference initials. We're never going to use them, okay? You can put your email address here, though. That's fine. So that document right here, it's uploaded on the FOL. Go check it out. Use it to do your letter assignment, okay? Diving in a bit more to that letter format, your letterhead, right? Then you have a space, one or more. Then your date, inside address, who you're sending it to, salutation, dear so-and-so. You can add a subject line, no problem there. In fact, it's helpful. There's no real downside. And usually it's all in capital letters, subject, colon, da da da, whatever it may be. Another space. Then you get into the body of the letter, whatever it is you're really wanting to say. Then your close, sincerely, yours truly, regards, whatever. And then you can put your signature block, which is usually your written signature, your name, your title, your company, whatever. Right? What is CC? Stands for carbon copy. Back when, if you wanted to make a copy of something, you had carbon paper, you press it, it made a copy, right? That's why you see CC in emails. You're carbon copying someone. It just shows the reader that this letter has gone to someone else who's listed right here, R. Scott. Enclosure, yeah, that's just an attachment, basically, physical attachment. Maybe you've sent a cover letter to an employer. Your enclosure is your resume, right? Now back to the salutation, Mr., Ms., Mrs., Miss. Again, Ms. Ms is best. If you don't know the recipient's gender, their title, their address, go find out. Google is your friend. Google's your friend, or call them up, Ask them, hey, I'm sending you a letter. What's your address? Dear Jody Thompson, first name, last name. Yeah, that can work. Dear sir or madam. And why do we say first name, last name? Because Jody could be a guy or a girl, right? We don't know. So if it's like dear Jamie Smith, could be a guy or a girl. You might want to, just err on the side of caution and not use a Mr. or Ms. Dear sir or madam is fine. Don't say to whom it may concern. That's very impersonal and outdated. Subject lines, mandatory for emails, but not so much for letters. Don't have to. I don't mind them. You can include it. And it usually goes after the salutation. So subject, your September 1st, 2019 request for refund. Why do we put the subject line? Usually it's because you're responding to another letter. You got this letter from the client. You're saying, hey, this is in response to your letter of such and such a date. Okay, so you have a COM assignment this week, your bad news / indirect format / letter assignment. Here's what I don't want to see. By the way, the assignment, you can go on FOL and read it, but basically it's a company's looking for you to make a donation. You don't have the money, you got to let them down. Here's what not to do. Dear Julie, thank you for contacting me to request a donation to Make-A-Wish Foundation. It is indeed an honor to be part of your charity association. Okay, off to a good start, no problem. That's actually not a bad buffer. But unfortunately, at this time, I must decline your request due to other charity donations and financial commitments. Okay, I must decline your request. That's the bad news, right? That's the bad news. You don't want that up top there. You want to give your reasons first. You can start with, we've had a number of unexpected expenses, charity donate. We've had a number of unexpected expenses. We've had challenges. Our budget is a little tight right now. Then you can get into the bad news. Please don't say due to other charity donations, because in the assignment, you've been working with this charity for years. So now you're going to say, oh, sorry, we gave our money to another charity. They're going to be offended. They're going to be like, what are you thinking? We have a relationship. Don't say that your reasons are other charity donations, okay? Please be a little bit more creative. Make it up. However, our team would like to donate some clothes that are especially designed for your charity. Okay, there's a consolation prize. I sincerely apologize for this reason and thank you for understanding. That's a brush off email. That's like, yeah, sorry, no, we can't help you. Bye-bye. Not what I want to see. I want to see you applying all the concepts from this lecture. Buffer, reasons, bad news, closing in that format, and be creative, right? So check the FOL page for the specifics on that assignment, but go and do that now. That's it. Thanks for watching. And I think that's it for this week. If not, I'll post another video, but we'll see you in class. Okay, thanks a lot.